What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22 My Team Career Mode. Last time out we were at the Monaco Grand Prix and we had honestly one of the best Monaco Grand Prix I can remember in a long time. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I would absolutely recommend going and doing that because it was an absolute banger. And yeah, it was pretty good. We have the opportunity now to renew another one of our sponsors, and we are going to go back to Equator Oil, who we were with before. I think scoring 10 Constructors' Championships points during a race weekend is reasonable. It's probably not always going to be possible, but that's going to be our toughest goal, apart from maybe beating our rival until we get easier rivals. And now we are finally going to upgrade our aero facility to Spec 3. It's not going to be done until the Canadian Grand Prix, which is the next race, but the cash has been invested and the upgrade will be done, and that will unlock us 3 ultimate aerodynamic upgrades to hopefully make us the fastest car aerodynamically speaking on the grid. And then we can start investing some money into some other facility upgrades in the chassis and engine departments. But that probably won't come until the end of the season, at least, if not season 4, just simply for the fact that it's very, very expensive, and we'll have to do 4 upgrades to be able to do that, as well as renewing our teammates' contract for the coming season, or for the coming half season, I should say, which we're only 3 races away from doing now. We've got Azerbaijan, we've got Canada, we've got France, and then we will be halfway through the Formula 1 season already. It has gone remarkably quickly. I'm sure you will agree. And yeah, then we can move into the second half and hopefully continue being as much of a challenger as we have been during the first half of the season. Although I'm not overly optimistic that is going to be the case, and unless we can really get on top of those aero upgrades and fast. But yeah, at the moment we are moving more towards the back of the grid than we are towards the front of the grid. It's to be expected, because if you don't know, I'm playing with minimum gain on all like sort of currencies in this game, if you will. Cash is minimum gain, resource points minimum gain, acclaim is minimum gain, all of that stuff. And then I've turned the AI's resource point generation, acclaim generation, cash generation, all that kind of stuff up to maximum, which allows the AI to develop really quickly, and we have to be very, very smart about what we're doing if we want to be able to catch up to the AI. In practical terms, what that means effectively is that it will just take us longer to develop a championship winning car. It will take us maybe 4 or 5 seasons as opposed to, you know, the usual 1.5 or 2 that you would get in a regular save.
Of our top 3, who are Fernando Alonso, Perez, Enzo Fittipaldi. Sadly, it's time to say goodbye as free practice is over. However, we'll be back shortly for more Formula 1 action.
So the track was initially wet when we started this practice session, and it was drying when I was setting my best times. You know, I went down from a 147 on the mediums to a 142 over the course of the race strategy sim. So it's a bit of a question mark exactly what our pace is going to look like. But, you know, I would ideally like to see us at least into Q3, probably into sort of like the top 5 or 6. And then, yeah, maybe be challenging for sort of top 5 in the race, get all those sponsor targets met. But yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. We've got a new aero upgrade available now, which is this one, the Y250 Vortex generators. It doesn't matter whether we do it standard or rush it. It's going to be on the car in time for the British Grand Prix, not the French Grand Prix. I thought France came before Britain, but it turns out I was wrong. And so, yeah, we will have a very aerodynamically fast car come the British Grand Prix, which is great news, because that's a track that really relies on a strong aero package. So yeah, that will be incredibly useful for us. Now it's time for us to get into qualifying. Not an overly important session here at Baku, because as I'm sure you know, quite often what happens is a driver from outside sort of the top 3 or top 4 is able to sneak into the major positions. Our first flying lap of Q1 is a 140.8, currently good enough for P2, but we're a second off our championship rival Leclerc, and actually we get outperformed by our teammate Enzo Fittipaldi, who is you know, starting to come kind of good in this in this series of My Team Career Mode. In the end, on our second flying lap, we come 8th, so it's not too bad. But I hope for a little bit more improvement over that. Fittipaldi 13th in the end, so he is through to Q2, and that's exciting to see. It's one of the first times I'm really aware of him getting through to Q2. Maybe in Bahrain when he had the stats buff from the driver training camp, he got through as well. But we're still many tenths off of Norris and Leclerc, who are the drivers that we want to contend with. So we're gonna have to push quite hard in these next couple sessions to stay with them. First flying lap of Q2 on a used set of softs. It's a 142.1. We're going to have to improve significantly if we want to make it into Q3. That is nowhere near good enough. And we do exactly what I was hoping for in the second flying lap. And it's a 139.8 as we cross the line, which is good enough for P7. So we still need to improve by a fair amount if we want to get into the top 5. But for second flying lap being 2.3 seconds faster than my first one, I will take it. Only shock exit of this session, maybe Ocon in the Alpine, which is one of the fastest cars. Lundgaard was actually incredibly close to making it into Q3, and that Alfa Romeo is a significant car in the championship. It's just that the drivers can't seem to hook it up no matter how hard they try. My first flying lap of Q3 was a 139.7. However, I was told it was going to be raining towards the end of the session, so I decided to set one lap and call it a day. But all of the cars improved quite significantly over me, so it was only good enough for P10 in the end. And it was a bit disappointing that it didn't seem to rain at the end of the session enough to the point that it stopped the other drivers around us from improving their lap times. But, anyway, P10 is not the end of the world. We can definitely improve from there. I've gotten on the podium in races before from P10, or even lower than that, in fact. So, it's not going to be the worst situation to find ourselves in, but I will concede it's a bit frustrating because I think there definitely was more pace in the car if I had pushed just a tiny bit harder. But anyway, we move on from that. Enzo Fittipaldi is now a claim level 11. I'm not sure when that happened, but it must have been quite recently, which means his value is actually starting to go up quite significantly. I do want to sign him for the second half of this season if he'll have us, but going forward after that, I think his acclaim will just be a tiny bit too high to warrant signing him again and spending that much money unless he has a really strong second half to this season. Because I need either a driver who is cheap or a driver who is fast. And Enzo Fittipaldi is slowly becoming neither of those things.
Welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku, and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners, and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today. So our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully out of the barriers. The Baku City Circuit measures roughly 6 kilometers, and it's made up of 20 corners and 2 DRS zones. The circuit winds around the narrow city, through the old town, and even brushes against the city's medieval walls. However, as beautiful as the setting is, this track is also a ferocious technical challenge, where the smallest of mistakes could lead to a catastrophic consequence for any one of our drivers. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Norris, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Ricciardo, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Robinson, and Guan Yu Zhou, Sainz, Fittipaldi, Esteban Ocon, and Gasly, Albon, Magnussen, Lance Stroll, and Yuki Tsunoda. Lundgaard, they've taken a grid penalty, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, and Robert Schwartzman. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Honestly, I want to push a little bit higher than that, and I want to get into the top 5. Even from P9, I still think it's 100% possible for us to get into the top 5. We got Sainz starting behind us, which is good. It means that we might actually be able to get a result over him in this rivalry. Yeah, other than that, we just have to try not to worry too hard about what's going on behind us. We've got a few cars starting in front of us on the hard tyres, including Perez, so we'll see what he can do. And we'll line up on the grid and get ready for the lights to go out. We had a great start in Monaco. We went up from P5 to P2. So if we can have a similar start here, you know, we've put a lot of heat into the tyres. I think we have the propensity to have a fantastic race, and we'll see what happens as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we switch to the replay camera. Let me know if you like this this change or not, and if not, then we can maybe reverse it. Challenging Alonso into the first corner, he challenges Ricciardo and comes way worse off for that, and we managed to get ahead of Alonso already. And now Daniel Ricciardo breaks early. We're going to try and go around the outside of him here at the second corner, and I think we've just about managed to make the move stick. We'll be burning battery, no doubt, to be able to keep him behind for the time being, because he is in a much faster car than us at the moment. That McLaren is an absolute rocket ship, and yeah, we've had to significantly burn battery in order to keep him behind. And now we are going to be challenging Perez in front of us, who is on the hard compound tyres, while we have started on the medium compound tyres. And yeah, he is going to be a little bit slower, hopefully, as a result of that, but that doesn't mean we're going to be able to challenge him. He's still in a very fast car, the Red Bull, one of the 4 fastest cars on the grid at the moment, and any race that we can challenge any of those cars is a significant improvement over what I would expect. Any position higher than P9 is one that I'm going to be happy with. I do want to obviously be finishing ahead of the Alpines, but other than that, I don't really care too much at the moment. I think this championship fight has already kind of slipped away from me, but we'll see whether things change or not as we go forward through the season. We've set the fastest lap of the race, however, so that's at least a somewhat encouraging sign. And now, as we come to the end of lap 4, moving into the start of lap 5, you can see that Ricciardo with the DRS is going to put us under a significant amount of pressure. We defend to the inside, we squeeze him to the outside, and we manage to keep hold of the position for the time being. He actually loses the position because he runs a bit wide, and now Alonso is up into P8, and Sainz has also overtaken him and gotten up into P9. So we've momentarily built a gap to the cars behind us, but we have fallen off the cars in front of us. So unless we can find some pace quite quickly to catch up with the cars ahead, we are going to be looking at no better than P7 in this race, because they love to check out for the rest of the race after you fall off from them a little bit. We are now under pressure from Alonso behind. You can see he's closing me down quite significantly, and we're going to try and brake as late as we possibly can into the first corner. He has to stay on the outside, and that means we get the better run through the corner, and we remain ahead of him for now. But I don't have any idea how we're going to be able to hold him up for the rest of the race. We just seem to not have very much pace at all. I was thinking I was really fast in a straight line on the evidence that I'd seen, but it turns out I'm not that fast in a straight line, and I'm also not really that fast through the corners because my car is optimized for straight line speed. So yeah, there's kind of no place that we're really faster than Alonso or the cars around us. I think if we broke DRS to him for more than a lap, we might be able to do something about it. But yeah, I really am just not able to break that cycle at the moment, which is a tad frustrating. But anyway, we've kept him behind for now. He's fallen out of DRS range, but I'm sure he will get back in it because he does have the DRS, which he's attacking with on this lap. And yeah, he is just going to be an absolute menace. Fortunately, our pit window is coming up soon, and maybe we can gain a bit of an advantage over him by stopping a little bit earlier than he is stopping, and we will have to see what happens there. Now we are looking on the replay cameras once again. He's challenging me again into lap 10, and he's actually on the inside this time, which means I'm going to find it way harder to defend from him. We think I've just about managed it. We're going to be going wheel to wheel, I think, as we come through the second corner here, and we stay ahead of him for now. But as you're about to see, things are not quite what they seem. I thought I would throw a little bit of a curveball in here and not show you the radio messages on this occasion. But yes, actually we have had a gearbox failure, and that is the end of our race. I was trying everything I could to make it not so, But when that happens, that's what happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that is the end of our race. That's our second DNF of the season in 9 races. And yeah, once again, we are just plagued by our complete lack of reliability.
Here we are then, it's victory in Azerbaijan. Great work from the whole team here at the track and back at the factory as well. Some pretty handy driving for good measure. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure. And no doubt, they'll be celebrating tonight.
Yep, so Norris takes the win, and Leclerc also finds himself on the podium along with another driver, which is a Red Bull driver I actually didn't see because I wasn't paying attention. Oh, it's Verstappen that checks out, of course. So yeah, my 2 championship rivals are on the podium, and that is going to absolutely nuke my chances of winning this championship, because we are going to be falling 20 plus points down the order compared to them, and we're going to need to have a string of good results coming up soon if we want to challenge them back. Yeah, 24 points a field. He can basically afford a DNF and we'll still be pretty close. So yeah, we're suffering pretty hard as a result of that. And once again, we fall behind Red Bull in the championship by 21 points, and that is going to be quite difficult to recoup as well. So it looks like we're challenging for P5 in the constructors and challenging for sort of, I don't know where in the drivers. You can see Hamilton is actually pretty close to us now as well. Fittipaldi had a pretty good result in the end, P12, not bad, almost into the points. If he can get into the points at some point during this season, that would definitely do wonders for me wanting to keep him on the team. But we'll have to wait and see what he is capable of. Either way, we lose a bit of acclaim as a result of that DNF. It's not a fantastic outcome, but what can you do? Hopefully we can bounce back in Canada and in Britain, have a string of good results over the next few races or so, and yeah, maybe find ourselves back in the hunt for the championship after those races have elapsed. But you know, we'll have to wait and see. It's not guaranteed, and yeah. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.